Welcome to another Coffee with Samso, where we speak with ASX companies and the guys who run the show. We're here at the UWA Club here in Crawley on a very, very nice autumn morning. I've got Rob Mosig here from Caeneus Minerals. The ASX code is CAD. Rob was with us almost 12 months ago now. And Rob, welcome back. And you guys have been working away in the Pilbara, looking for gold, lithium, maybe. Give us an update.
Well, I'd love to give you an update, and it is timely to give an update. The last time we were about to go forward with a drilling program. Now we've completed our first drilling program. Very rough because it was a air core program over 200 metre spacings, so quite a exploratory style of drilling, which has shown some very, very interesting results. Albeit from an investor's point of view, they may think it isn't cutting the mustard, but from a technical point of view and from the thinking investor, I think we've got some great results that we're about to do another drilling program on very, very shortly at Roberts Hill. So it's rolling well at the Mallina Basin tenements, completely.
I think you made a really good point, and a point that I always emphasise to the guys who watch this is that exploration is not an overnight process. It's exactly what you guys done. You need that regional spacing to get that coverage, and then you follow that up with when you get those results, right?
I agree, Noel. I think if you look at investment, it's not an easy process either. If you want to make a good investment, you've got to do good research. And I think just like an exploration company, investors need to be patient with their investments. It's very unlikely that you make a lot of money from serendipity. Can happen, but in general terms, I think do the research, find the projects and the company and the team that you want to follow, and stick with them.
Yeah. Look, getting into the details of the technical kind of aspects of the projects, can you give us an update on what you guys have thought? Because obviously back in those days, we talked about, our first coffee with Samso, and now, where is the thinking now? Have you learned something? Have you guys thought, hey, maybe that works now? Not.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's where our excitement is particularly high. That at our Mallina Basin tenements, we've got two separate tenements. One, Mount Berghouse, which still remains to be granted, so no work has been done there. I'll get onto that in a minute. But we've done work at Roberts Hill, adjacent to Mount Berghouse, heavily covered in overburden. We always wondered what was below that overburden. Would it have, similar to De Grey, possible granitic rock types, possible high magnesian rock types, dioritic rock types perhaps? And indeed our air core work has demonstrated that the rock types and the structure that exists at Roberts Hill is identical to the Mallina Basin where De Grey have found their Hemi project. So that's been a very big point, and we've discovered that by geochemistry. We've done, around about a $50 to $60 sample analysis, whole rock, right through the complete spectrum of elements to get a full understanding of what's going on there and what's happening. Are there mantle-derived intrusions there? And if so, how do we go about aiming our reverse circulation drilling program, which is about to happen? At Mount Berghouse, little bit shallower, less overburden, and some fabulous structure that you can pick up from the geophysics. We're really champing at the bit to get onto that ground and complete the drilling. What I've planned is we anticipate that by June of this year, Mount Berghaus should have been granted, and we'll run a contemporaneous program of air core drilling over the Mount Berghaus structures, specific locations that we've picked out from the geophysics, and we will run at the same time a reverse circulation drilling program at Roberts Hill to follow up the gold anomalism that we found from that last year's air core program. In terms of that gold anomalism, the best we got was 0.5 of a gram. But you know, that actually is highly anomalous, as you would well know, from a ground that's never been explored before, given that we also know structure and intrusives exist there. So, a lot to do, and we're just at the embarking on the start.
Yeah, I know the Mount Berghaus, when I looked at your announcement, the geophysics looked really, really good. I mean, structurally, there's no doubts in my mind that you have there. Obviously, you just got to figure out if it's mineralized or not. But the whole Hemi thing was, you know, a lot of people need to understand that De Grey had a whole series of pits there. Right? It wasn't a mystery that they potentially could have mineralization there. So, whereas a lot of people who don't have that, you do have to do all your regional sampling and pinpointing. That's exploration, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of people forget that's how we have been doing it forever. You know. So I want to sort of get a better understanding, because we may have touched on this before in our first conversation, but a lot of people have said to me, Pilbara, lots of gold, but it's really hard to find the source. But we do know that gold exists, because you've got the Hemis of this world, you've got Calidus with the project out there. I think Kara's got another big deposit. Artemis have got their project there. They're all sort of sitting in the Pilbara sector. So there is no longer this mystery that there's no multi-million ounce potential in the Pilbara. Why was that thinking present in those days?
I guess the clearest answer would be refractory. Pilbara historically was known to have gold, but the deposits that they had discovered in that Mallina Basin were essentially difficult to recover in terms of the recoveries of gold. Difficult. I think it's taken a little bit of time for the Pilbara to become non-refractory. I think also, top marks to De Grey, finding a Hemi, a size of deposit that shows the potential for the Pilbara. Hemi is a super deposit, and it's exactly what we're looking for. Make no bones about it, we're aiming for the same style of mineralisation, but it took De Grey at least 10 years to discover that, Noel, and it will take other companies the same amount of time. I note that in many ways De Grey have been looking for the last couple of years for extra Hemis. They've called it the Greater Hemi Exploration Area, but there's been limited success to find an analogue. Back in the diamond days, as you know, Rio deliciously called the first deposit AK1. Where's AK2? It didn't turn up. And I just come back to what I'm trying to say is it takes time to find those big mega deposits that turn out. So they're there, but it takes the time, and there might be a slightly different signature on Roberts Hill and Berghaus to what Hemi is at De Grey. And that's what we've got to look at, just those variations that can be important.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because when we look at how we discover things, and Caeneus is really interesting because you're grassroots, and that's how discoveries. I've always said that exploration needs to exist because that's where the discoveries are. And if we go back, 5, 10 years ago, uh, new discoveries, gold discoveries, and etc., was quite lacking, and there's a lot of people discussing we don't do enough exploration, but the market's very buoyant and the money's flowing in, and we're getting good vibes from there. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to geology 101, right? Chasing the right stuff. How much of your time is thinking time in terms of, hey, is this upside down, left side up, right side down, how much of that is there?
Thinking time is around the 80% right at the moment. We have so much data, Noel. We've employed a full-time exploration manager, which is testimony to how we see the project, well, it becoming project status. We're planning a lot of work to do over the next 3 to 4 years just on Roberts Hill. So in terms of research, interpretation of the results from our air core. We're still actually working on some of that geochemistry right now, refining it, reviewing it, understanding it. It's a very, very important research program as well. So much so that we don't need to grab hold of new project areas. There's enough here to last us for many years.
Are you guys just gold focused, or you got?
No, we're not. We're not. It's an eclectic mixture of projects that I've inherited with Caeneus. One of the most intriguing ones is a nickel project, 70 kilometres north of Port Hedland. It's a weirdo ultramafic intrusion that CRAX, now Rio, found in the 1990s, and whilst we wait for Berghaus to be granted and finish our work on Roberts Hill and start the drilling program, I pushed to do some drilling, some reverse circulation drilling at what is an ultramafic with a JORC 2004 resource. Not possible to present because now you need a 2012, but it's certainly got some legs in terms of nickel and copper. It was dropped by Rio back in the 90s because they believed that at the price of nickel in those days, given that nickel now is about $34,000 a tonne, it certainly wasn't anywhere near that back in the 1990s. So I think there's some very good reason that we're drilling there as well. So we're focused on nickel and we're focused on gold. Gold to me is an enigma. It's the one that we're going to put a lot of work into drilling, but I think we could actually have a very tidy little deposit as we drill out our Pardoo area, our highway nickel deposit, very shortly. And the third leg to the tripod, if you like, is lithium in USA. I've discounted any potential lithium in our areas in the Pilbara. I don't believe it's worth us chasing that particular commodity at this time, but we do have some lithium brine projects in the USA. I think, and my push is to share those with a larger group as a way to explore and to focus on those other two legs, which is gold and nickel, and they're the two that we're going to do more work on.
That's the Pilbara. I've coined it in the past that the next frontier, the frontier everyone's forgotten, because as we said, there were narratives that you can't find this, you can't find that. But if you look at the Pilbara as a whole now, it is fairly multi-element. There's nickel there. There was a nickel mine. Fox had the nickel mine, and Artemis has
Radio Hill,
yeah,
yes,
Radio
yes.
Hill and things like that. And you got platinum at
Money.
Money. You got gold. You got iron ore. You got Pardoo, and there's believe there's zinc at one stage somewhere floating in that space as well. So it's really sort of an oyster bed hasn't been really looked at seriously for many reasons. Money, too remote, too hard. But as we speak, you reminded me that this oyster bed is actually there. It's just that people hasn't really talked much about it.
Absolutely, and I think when you look at the variation, the amount of different minerals the economic minerals that are there in the Pilbara, money eventually must be a mine, I believe. Our platinum group metals mine, who knows what will happen there. Gold, there must be more discoveries that we find. I'm hoping that it'll be Caeneus with our Roberts Hill Berghouse, but it's going to go on. This area is not going to be left vacant in terms of drilling for another decade at least, and I think it's just the start for all those commodities. And whilst I don't want to have CAD pursue lithium, there's great opportunities there, but it's just we've got our bag full, and we don't want to be overloaded.
Because I forgot in that list was Pardoo, right?
Yes.
A high-grade copper. Smallish, but yeah, but still there. Calidus is now talking about antimony. So it is, we just haven't really figured out what's there and what's not there, right?
Correct.
And then you've got the iron ore. Then you got, I've seen some manganese pots here and there. But, it's just hard to do everything, like you're just saying, right?
Correct.
CAD's got to concentrate on what they've got first and then move on. If not, you'll just be jack of all trades, right?
Correct. Yes. No, I definitely think the gold areas, and this is why I come back to the amazing amount of ground that I've inherited as CEO of CAD. The nickel has been lying somewhat dormant since 2018 when it was acquired, and I was just gobsmacked as I went through the data there that made me realise just what a sound project it is. Roberts Hill, wow, I don't think you could have a better address, and I don't think you could have better geological structure and geochemistry from our work that we've done. It's fine. Berghouse, let it happen soon, because we've got to get out there and complement Roberts Hill with the work at Berghouse.
Taking a step back, looking at it corporately, got a board, David Bosier's on the board, and who was sort of with Shaw and Partners, right? Now, looking at the market as it is now, my narrative is I think that we've been around in this industry for a long time. You're a bit more senior than I am, so you're more wiser in that sense. I think this got lots of legs. I think we're just at the start of things. I had a guy here who we discussed about, if the pricing went too high, could we see a replacement of lithium? He said, but everything's going up. So when all the commodities, all the metals are going up at the same time, it's really hard to see a replacement of such. Your opinion, this market, money is being raised left, right, centre. So we're going to be able to explore and go. Do you see this going on for longer than, traditionally we're 6 months, 9 months, we're happy days, right? Do you see this moving much longer to a space where you're a bit afraid to say it will go that long?
No, it's, when I say unfortunately yes, I say it from a global perspective that regrettably, when you have so much political tension that we currently have in the world, you will see a demand for metals, and Australia is a repository for all those metals. So the answer to your question, in my point of view, is yes. We'll see a run of exploration here in Australia for many years, probably a decade to a half, 15 years, I believe, of solid work. And in that time, I'm sure there's going to be new discoveries. The prices of metals, whilst they will increase and go beyond to stupid levels, I think they're going to be much higher than what we think they're going to be. So I actually think there's a long-term future for Australia. It's going to ride on metals and exploration, and what we now need to do is make sure that the exploration companies that are doing that work are doing it well, thorough, and they're funded, and they've got everything going for them to do that work.
Yeah, I think, you can't take away the fact that the sort of the changing geopolitical checkerboard, it's going to work in favour for metals. With sort of world changing of the big brothers, 4 or 5 of them in the world, and everyone's jostling for position, and
yes.
I sense there's some sort of nationalism that's happening, where people are now saying, hey, maybe we should have our own of this, or maybe we should have our own of that.
Yes. Certainly, when you look at Norilsk, for instance, a large company that has PGMs and it has a nickel repository. Both those opportunities, you've mentioned platinum deposits here that are pregnant. There's no doubt there'll be more nickel and platinum explored for here and found. So I think there's going to be a replacement for those politically unstable locations that have commodities. So we'll benefit.
Okay, so in sort of to summarise what we've said in terms of where CAD is, you got Pardoo. Really, it's a nickel copper PGE sort
Potential
of play.
PGE, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then you've got Robert Hills is gold,
yes,
and Mount Berghaus is
gold.
gold. So going forward, what would potential investors and your shareholders have to look forward to, going next 12 months, 18 months?
Yeah, look, I think from the company point of view, we have an excellent board. From the major shareholder point of view in Caeneus, we have some very, very solid believers who assist regularly in raising the capital that we need. I'm very fortunate that we don't need to have to struggle to raise money. We get the money very appropriately for the work that we can justify. So from that angle, I think everything's fine. From the smaller shareholder, who are a very important group, I think I come back to the point that I mentioned earlier. It's a case of do your research. There are good companies to invest in, and there will be always new companies that they can invest in. I think CAD's worth a few bob to invest in for any small investor, and just hang in there. Give it over a period of time, see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways, CAD to me is well resourced in funding, and I think that part of the equation I feel quite comfortable with in terms of what can be done, and the prospectivity of projects. I mean, to me, and an exploration geologist, everything's prospective. It's one lucky hole and wham bang. So that scenario is where most people would like to be, I guess, in our industry. But Rob, any last words to the guys out there to sway them to buy your stock?
They've probably made their minds up, Noel, anyway. But put it this way, I'm I'm very happy with our projects and very happy with our team at CAD. I don't think we could want for anything more than just exploration success coming out this year. So this is really a year, and next year as well, because it's hard to get drill rigs and it's hard to get analyses quickly. We're going to be waiting 8 to 12 weeks for the Pardoo nickel ones to come in. So time is going to be patience as time goes by, but hang in there. We're doing our bit.
Yeah, I think that's what I keep hearing now, is that the SS 12 weeks at minimum.
Yes.
But I think that everybody's facing the same issue.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But it's good to see you guys going out there and just doing those systematic one, because I think that's, to me, that shows that you guys are drilling with nouns rather than just, if I see a 5,000, 10,000 straight off the bat, meters of drilling, I kind of think, it's a bit funny, unless you guys know something that we don't know. But look, Rob, thank you for coming. Fantastic update. Caeneus is really, to a lot of people, may seem to be a hard one to pick, to understand. But I think that, and that's why I sort of encourage people to come here and just talk about it, And I encourage you guys out there to go and contact Rob and say, look, what does that mean? An announcement comes out. What does that mean? What does it mean for the company? Because I'm pretty sure Rob will take those calls and emails.
Delighted.
But Rob, since your last visit, we've teamed up with Florence Drummond and her associates Florence started Indigenous Women in Mining Resource Australia, and we came up with this product where it's a coffee, and we're giving it out to all participants of Coffee with Samso.
Oh, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
As a token sort of gift, and we lace it up with stuff so that you keep coming back to us. So
lovely. Well, I will definitely drink it and think about you.
But anyway, Rob, thank you, and until next time, we'll continue to chat.
Cheers, Noel.